Hello, fabulous people. Welcome to a tutorial, one that has been requested by Remix King. So I'm just going to get right into this. If you want to make a Pokemon sidebar or layout, I'm going to be telling you how to make both. The one where, I can show the GBA screens for one, like a basic GBA sidebar layout, and then I'm going to be showing a basic DS layout. So I hope that this helps you guys. It took a lot of trial and error for me to figure this out. First things first, I didn't go over this. You have to make sure that it's 1280 by 720. It's basically the best one unless you have a bigger monitor, but then you probably know how to do this. So I'm going to start with the GBA layout first. Typically, how like other people, like I've seen Hoodlum Scrafty do this and stuff. Basically what you got to do, you start with this tool right here, and then I don't even know what they're called, so forgive me. And then just sort of box out everything. I would say about here is a decent size, maybe a little bigger, maybe smaller. I'm gonna end it around here, and then cut that out. And then I think why don't we say this is gonna be for a leaf green layout. And then yeah, sometimes what gets a little tricky here is when you use that tool. I don't exactly know how to get, okay, there we go. I was about to say I don't know how to get it away, but hey, I just figured it out. And we're going to say this is for leaf green, so why don't we go to that paint tool. Just like follow the mouse as much as you can and figure out what tools we're using on the left so that you know what to do. And we're going to color that in green. And then basically I use Google Images for all of my layout stuff and such, so we're going to get into the copying and pasting stuff. So why don't we get the Pokemon, why don't we get Venusaur? Okay. And if you want to get these graphics packs, then just comment your email and I could send you all the like Gen 1 through 5 official Pokemon artwork and stuff. Let's say Pokemon logos. And you use this tool again. Then copy and paste it, and then you go to edit, go to free transform. This is probably the best way to resize your images. A lot of people don't really know that. They just go to image and then image size, and it causes a lot of complications. And we're gonna make this look all pretty and stuff. Remember, this is just basic layouts. If you want to see some like really talented graphics artists, then I recommend you look up like Skizor or something like that. And then this is another tool that's very useful. If you want to get out like that restricted trademark sign, then you should do the zoom in tool, maybe make the eraser a little smaller, not quite necessary in this case. Okay, so we got the Pokemon logo there. And then you double tap that if you want it to like go into the editing the text tools and stuff, and we're gonna add a nice just basic white stroke to it. Remember, it took me a lot of trial and error before I really knew how to do this, so if you don't know how, don't be ashamed. Inner glow isn't necessary. Why don't we give it a little... No, I want it to really stand out here, so why don't we give it a drop shadow. Okay, that way at the bottom there you can sort of see it looks pretty cool. And then blend mode, why don't we just darken it. No, that made it look a little worse, so we'll just keep it at multiply. Alright, and then just so it's a little even, why don't we just drag it down and center it a little bit. Okay, Pokemon. And then let's add leaf green. The text is a little small, why don't I bring it up to 70. Okay. Oh, hello, no colors. Might want to change that. Whoops. Leaf. Now the text is a little big, and that's fine. You can always just resize everything, never panic. Okay, 50. I recommend that you do this like you follow along, like maybe watch this on mobile while you're on Photoshop while you're doing this, unless you can really pick up on this all at the same time. Let's add a little stroke to this. I don't really like that text though, so why don't we change to one that I know I'm gonna like. One of my favorite texts to use is called Grow Bold, so we'll use that. Pokemon Leaf Green doesn't really fit with the Pokemon icon, so we'll make it a little bit bigger so that it does. See how, like, yeah, now it looks a little bit better. Okay, just keep it nice and basic white color there. And then we wanted to add the Venusaur, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Alrighty. And we're going to make this really, really small, just so that it has like a nice little touch. You don't have to do this, but I think it really adds to the layout when you can throw in little cute stuff. Like on my Omega Ruby Nuzlocke layout, I threw in the Hoenn starters there, just to add a little touch to make it that much nicer. So why don't we actually, you know what, Venusaur might look cool. Just like a lot of YouTubers do this, where they have them like hanging on part of the screen, so that way when you put it into editing and such, and strokes, they always just add so much extra. Maybe would it look better behind? Yeah, Venusaur looks cool behind the Pokemon layout there. Maybe we can move him down just a tad. I think that looks awesome. Just having the cute little Venusaur there. It's just a nice touch to throw that stuff in. And then this is another fun part. What I like to do on sidebars especially, throw in the rounded rectangle tool, and then you start it from over here, bring it down a little bit, and that way you can add your teammates. Why don't we make the fill black, and then go to duplicate layer, and we're going to make 6 of these because they're going to be representing the team members. And yeah, I guess we could space it apart like this. It's going down a little bit too much. That'll work. That's fine. And then you hold Control so that you can select these both at the same time. Duplicate the layers. I'm sorry if my commentary isn't particularly like 100% interesting for you guys. I'm just basically going through a step-by-step guide so that you guys know what to do. And then you could go somewhere in between. I'm gonna drag these down just a little bit so that there can be some space between the layout and that. And then another thing I like to do, instead of making a badge case, I like to put a little box here and then put a 0 inside of it. Hold on. But a key to this, usually you should probably write the 0 or type the 0, whatever, outside of it and then drag it above. That way it fits in nicely, because when you try and type inside the boxes, it causes some complications. And then just to add a little bit of contrast, I usually put the stroke on here and then do a color overlay. I make that black. I make the stroke white. And that way it's got a really cool effect. And that's going to represent the amount of badges we have. 0 we'll make it all lowercase. Badges. Okay, and just to make it look nice and fancy, we shall add a little stroke. So yeah, there's your basic like GBA layout. What you could do underneath here, you could like put your username or something. You know what, I'm gonna save this for anyone who wants to use this layout for a Leaf Green Let's Play, then by all means. I should probably throw in adding the Pokemon. So let's say we start with a friggin' Squirtle, I guess. We'll do that. And okay, it doesn't want to show up. You guys can see like all my fancy stuff right here. There we go. My computer takes a little bit to load up sometimes. And let's say we started with Squirtle. Okay, this is where it's sometimes necessary to change the image size, because you don't want to frickin' drag a, you know, humongous Squirtle into there and then have to resize it with a free transform. Then you make sure you copy and paste it in there, then go to edit, then go to free transform, resize it down a bit, and drag it over like so. You could even make it a little bit smaller. This is a pretty good size, and I don't know, I think this is just a really unique sidebar way of doing things. And then apply. Add a little stroke to make it fancy. You can never forget that. You can make it a little bigger, a little smaller, and then make sure you make the text a little bit smaller so that it can fit into the boxes here. So we'll go for 28. I guess that's a good one. Might be a little bit. No, that's perfect. Okay. And then Squirtle. And it still looks a little plain, even with just the Pokemon name and the fact that it's like just the name and the Pokemon in there. It looks a little plain, so we're gonna add the types in just a sec. Hold up. This is just my way of making it look all fancy. And then save changes, no. And then to add the types and such. What is he? He's a water type. So yeah, anyone who wants these graphics packs, if you want that, just post your email in the comments. Go to water, you go to copy and paste this into the layout. This seems a little big, but yeah, this seems a little big, so we're gonna resize that a little bit. Typically for like typing and stuff, I don't usually always, this is like optional. I feel like you don't really have to throw these in your layouts, but it's just it adds a nice touch for people who are like doing walkthroughs and all that. So yeah, if you want to throw the typings in there and whatnot, I think that's a pretty dang good, decent looking layout. So I'm gonna save that as a Photoshop file, and anyone who wants it, also you can leave me your email. Maybe I'll just like post a file share. Look out for that in the description. It might be there in the future. A few weeks after I post this, I don't know. It depends on the amount of email requests I get. But we'll go leaf green layout and save it as a PSD file. And when you're editing, you want to save it as a PNG, like when you put it into programs such as Sony Vegas and whatnot. So save it as a PNG. And yeah, there we go. There is the GBA sidebar style layout. Now, let's get into the Nintendo DS sort of style. Now, the best way to do this is to create new boxes, yet again, and usually for the top screen, you want to make it 720 by 480. You go into here, maybe recolor it so that you know that this is the top screen that you're going to be using. So, go ahead and copy and paste this into the DS layout, and there's your top screen right there. And typically what you should do here, have layer 0 selected. Oh wait, no. Go to layer 1, do the frickin' magic wand tool right here, have all of this selected on layer 1. Okay, hold on, just waiting for my computer. Okay, all of layer 1 is selected. Go to layer 0, and now go to your magic eraser tool, get rid of it, and now get rid of layer 1, and there you have it. You have a box. Yay, glorious. Should probably, I see some hints of orange there right here, so might wanna drag this up just a tad. Okay. This is where you want to use the magic eraser tool, or just get rid of layer 1 altogether. Okay, all the orange is gone. And then for the bottom screen, go to File, New, and then make it 480 by 240. Oh no, that was wrong. Maybe we should do 720 by 4. I don't know the exact dimensions, so maybe why don't we just kind of go here again, and then we're just sort of doing a little guesstimate right here, and sometimes that's fine. It doesn't always have to be perfectly to scale. I want to recolor that so that I don't screw anything up. Yeah, that looks about right for a bottom screen, so I don't know. I don't know exactly what the dimensions are for bottom screen because I typically don't do that. And I guess we'll put it right here. You can obviously, of course, make this bigger or smaller as you please. This is more of like a 3DS style size. Like sometimes the top screen for DS looks a little bigger, a little smaller. I don't know. It looks good, in my opinion. So then you want to do the same thing with the magic wand right here. And then select it all. Go back down here. And yeah, I guess we'll make the bottom screen bigger. What the hell? I didn't mean to do that, but whatever. Alright, and layer 1, let's get rid of you. I want to delete layer. Yes, and then select all. And to really make it stand out, you want to hit the stroke again. And that way the screens have a little bit of emphasis that they are the top and bottom screens there. And then once again, gotta get with like, rather than getting the Pokemon logos, why don't I just write Pokemon? We'll say this is a Pokemon Diamond layout. Get the Pokemon text, Pokemon Solid, make it size 70, and then Pokemon. Okay, looks decent. And since we're saying this is for Pokemon Diamond, add a little stroke to it as always. To color overlay, and let's make it like a nice dark blue for Dialga. Ooh, that actually doesn't look good. Let's make it a little bit lighter. There we go. We should probably also make the background, we're gonna do something a little fancy here. We're gonna give it a gradient overlay. So, go into here, give it some sort of mix that you want. You can pick like 3 color variations. We'll say dark blue, silver, and white. Why the heck not? And we'll reverse this. Not make it linear, let's make it... No, reflected doesn't work either. I don't know why this is being such a dingus. Probably because it's all the way at the edge. Okay, and you also want to adjust it so that the colors all blend cohesively. No, no, no. Okay. I don't know why the white doesn't want to budge, but okay then. Alright. I don't really like the reflect pattern there, so we're gonna go back into linear. I think that's okay. It doesn't look the best. You could also angle it differently if you wanted to. You might want to have like a better preview of it. I don't know, maybe the white's throwing me off or whatnot, but it doesn't look awful. I think it's fine. It looks kind of like a night sky hitting the clouds or whatnot. Looks all fancy and crap. Okay. Now, we're gonna retouch this Pokemon logo, and we're gonna give it a white stroke. And it's sort of going to blend in with the blue in the layout, kind of like we did earlier with the badge numbers and whatnot. See that? That is pretty. Okay. It's not like top 100% graphics quality, but you know, it's the basics. It's good for if you're like just getting into graphics and whatnot. So, Pokemon. And then... Ooh, that's a little big. That is a little big. Let's go to 40. Diamond version. Alrighty, and we'll do the same thing. We'll give it a white stroke. And color overlay. That's another fun thing you can do. You can just go to other colors that are already on the layout, and then it'll just Yeah, you guys saw Pokemon Diamond version, and now we're gonna make boxes rather than doing the sidebar stuff. So you want 6 of these, obviously. I don't know why orange keeps fucking showing up, but I mean, cool. Now this is a little bit more complicated because it's only doing recently used colors. I guess you could tap this. There we go. That's how it's done. Has a white stroke. I'm not a fan of that. So why don't we make this a little different? We'll do a fill, white fill. No, this isn't working either. I'm not a fan of this. I guess we'll just give it a black stroke. How do I do this? Maybe light blue. Yeah, okay, that's sort of cool looking. And then you want to duplicate it again. And then do 4 more. Duplicate. And I was almost there. Yeah, Photoshop does that sometimes, where it just sort of drags on its merry way. I don't know why it's doing this. No. I think, okay, yeah, you guys get the point. So you get 6 of those, then maybe you want to center them over a little bit so it doesn't look too awkward. And yeah, there's your basic Pokemon layout thing. And then if you want to do the badges again, then why don't we make this could be like a question of the day kind of box here if you want, because I know a lot of people like to do that. So you can maybe throw that in, maybe make it a little bigger, go to free transform, and there you go. And you could use that little space to write. Why don't we just go to a more basic font right here. Let's go to Strong Void. A lot of people like that one. Do question of the day. Yeah, it looks a little awkward, but it's not too bad, the Strong Void font. Okay, stroke, and then color overlay yet again. Go into that. Oh, it doesn't look too hot down there, so we'll just make it white and give it a little inner shadow for emphasis that you want them to answer your question, I guess. That font actually looks pretty ugly, so don't use Strong Void when you're doing question of the day. Let's go right back into Grow Bold, because I love that font. No, not Great Lakes. Grow Bold. Looking good down there. Alright. Question of the day, and then you might want to add like a colon or something, just to add a little something something, I guess. You could just leave it around over there. And then, what is your favorite game? And then move it on over in the box. It doesn't fit 100%, but then that's why you can always go in the edit, free transform. That's how like Nappy and stuff, they always fit it in the boxes because they freaking resize the crap out of it. And then if you just want it to look nicer, as always, you gotta add that little stroke, gotta add that little color overlay. Forgot to click that. There you go. And you want the stroke to be white so that it stands out. Yeah, looking good. And now the badge case. What you can do, a few things here. You could make it like a long badge case, and then you could post the pictures of the badges in here, but you know, that's not how I roll. I prefer to you know, have the actual number instead. Ooh, that's a little disproportionate and awkward. Okay, let's make that a little smaller so that it fits in. And maybe I should just accept that this isn't going to work. Well, we don't necessarily need a box for that, do we? No. Then you could say badges equals 0, or badges, do a line 0 and then make that 0 bigger, I guess. I've never really done something like this before. I sort of didn't really plan out the type of layouts I was going to do for this tutorial. I'm just kind of making it up as I go, which is how I usually do it. So you guys are seeing the organic me right now. And then you want to make it look nicey nice. So do that stroke, do the color overlay. This is basically very simplistic. The more you make layouts, the more advanced you can get at this. But this video serves as a very good starting point as a tutorial for people who haven't made layouts before or something like that. So yeah. I guess that works. It's a little cluttered. But then let's get into, if you want to put the Pokemon into this kind of box, it's okay if they're also a little oversized. Let's say my starter is Piplup. Look at me with the water types today. Go to image, image size. Let's make this 2. And then copy and paste it in there. Put it over the box. That's a little too oversized right there, so we're going to go into that free transform tool yet again. And like I said, guys, this serves as a very good starting point because the more you use Photoshop, the more advanced you'll get, and the more you'll know how to make these layouts and such. So I switch this back to white. And oh crap, 75. Okay, let's make it 40. And Piplup. Piplup. And just so that the name stands out, you add a little stroke. Maybe you could put it a little bit lower so that there's more contrast. And then for Piplup, you can add a stroke to him. And all that basic stuff. Strokes just really help to make Pokemon stand out and to make the text more visible and all that stuff. So there's another layout if you guys want that. Go to Save As, and then go to Pictures, go to Diamond Layout, and there you go. So that's how you make a GBA sidebar and a DS layout. If you guys want more tutorial videos, then maybe, I guess, let me know what I could show you next. Maybe editing or something of that nature. I really don't know. But I guess this has been going on long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that this helps you out. And stay fabulous.